An Air India flight headed to London crashed shortly after taking off from Ahmedabad, making it the worst air disaster India has seen in nearly 30 years. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was carrying 242 passengers and crew when it went down, just after leaving Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport in Gujarat. The plane crashed into a dormitory at BJ Medical College in the busy Meghani Nagar area, right as medical students were sitting down for their lunch. Because the aircraft had just taken off, it was carrying over 1.25 lakh liters of fuel, burning of which led to massive fire causing severe burns. The accident was so fatal that over 200 families had to give their DNA samples at Ahmedabad's civil hospital to help match the remains. Many of the bodies were badly burned and some fragmented, making it impossible to recognize them without DNA testing. Families traveled from different parts of the India and even from the UK, desperately hoping for answers. Now let's understand how does this DNA sampling works. In the aftermath of an air disaster, identifying victims becomes a crucial yet challenging task, especially when bodies are severely burned, fragmented or unrecognizable. This is where DNA sampling plays a vital role. The extracted DNA undergoes quality and quantity analysis using RT-PCR machines. If the DNA passes these thresholds, multiple copies are generated for further testing. Now, what is a DNA? DNA is the unique genetic code found in every human cell, except in identical twins. It can be extracted from remains such as bones, teeth or tissue, even in extreme conditions like high heat or explosions. Once a person dies, their DNA begins to degrade. Over time, this degradation can make analysis difficult and even impossible. The extent of degradation depends on the type of the tissue from which DNA is extracted and the environmental conditions the body has been exposed to. DNA survives much better in cold and dry conditions than in hot and humid ones. Therefore, samples must be collected as soon as possible and stored in a cool and dry environment. Ideally, they should be frozen at -20 degrees Celsius or, in the case of soft tissues like skin, muscles, etc., preserved in 95% ethanol. DNA from soft tissues degrades much faster than that from extracted from hard ones like bones or teeth. This is because hard tissues are largely protected from decomposition and putrefaction, making them the preserved source for forensic investigation. Who is eligible for DNA sampling? To identify the collected DNA, reference samples are taken from biological relatives like parents. Children of the victims are the ideal candidates as they share 50% of each other's DNA. Forensic teams also gather samples from personal belongings of the victim, such as a toothbrush, combs or old medical records to match with the recovered DNA. This process is called DNA profiling, allows for the positive identification of victims, bringing clarity and closure to grieving families. It also enables authority to issue death certificates required for legal and insurance purposes. Why is DNA analysis important? Beyond identifying victims, DNA analysis can help reconstruct events like determining where the passengers were seated or whether certain injuries occurred before or after the crash. Though time-consuming and resource-intensive, DNA samplings remains the most reliable method of identification when visual recognition or fingerprinting is impossible. It plays a vital humanitarian and legal role in the aftermath of aviation tragedies. After the plane crashes, the collection of tissue samples from the wreckage typically takes a couple of weeks. However, this depends on the scale of the disaster. Following the September 11, 2001 attack in New York, authorities took nearly 10 months to collect the remains of almost 3,000 victims. As per the latest updates, the identification of former Gujarat CM Vijay Rupani was officially confirmed through DNA testing 3 days after the tragic crash of Air India flight AI-171. As per the latest reports, Gujarat Home Minister Harsh Sanghvi confirmed that DNA samples of 125 victims from the Air India plane crash had been successfully matched. The families of 124 deceased individuals had been contacted. The mortal remains of 83 victims were handed over to their families.
अभी तो एआईबी के माध्यम से तो इंक्वायरी भी चल रही है, एक हाई लेवल कमेटी भी उस पर अभी अपॉइंट करी है, उसमें देश के हमारे होम सेक्रेटरी उसके अध्यक्ष है, वो तो चल ही रहा है। दूसरी ओर जो हम आपने अभी पूछा वो तो बिल्कुल सही है कि थोड़ा सा उसमें दिक्कत इसलिए आ गई कि वहां पे बॉडीज के अनेक पार्ट्स मिले, तो बॉडीज जितने लोग थे उससे ज्यादा पार्ट्स मिले, तो बॉडी को पहचानना बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा है, इसलिए उसके डीएनए सैंपल्स ले रहे हैं। डीएनए सैंपल्स का रिपोर्ट आने में तकरीबन 36 आवर्स से ज्यादा उसको समय भी लगता है, तो उसके लिए थोड़ा सा देर हो रही है, लेकिन ये काम सही हो, सही व्यक्ति की बॉडी उसी उनके परिवारजनों के पास जाए, इसलिए थोड़ा सा प्रोटोकॉल है उसको फॉलो करना पड़ रहा है, थोड़ा देर हो रहा है, लेकिन इसका ये जो प्रोटोकॉल है तो वही है, उसको फॉलो ही करना पड़ेगा। तो अभी तक जो 200 मेरे हिसाब से 280 सैंपल्स लिए गए, उसमें से कल तक जो 70-80 लोगों को तो उनके परिवारजनों को बॉडी भी दे दी है। ब्लैक बॉक्स मिला है, वो एआईबी के कस्टडी में है, उसकी इंक्वायरी चल रही है, अभी वो सब डेटा डाउनलोड हो जाएगा, उसके बाद पता चलेगा।
I am Ayushi Mittal and you are watching DNA Explained. If you found this information informative, then you can subscribe to our channel. Also, you can scroll down to our playlist to watch other newses or information.